I keep saying this, we've got to stick to God's plans if we want to walk in God's purposes. And again, it's coming back to the plans of God. I've said this many times. I think we lose our way when we lose our why. And the questions are not how and when. I think so many people in the season have begun to ask the questions of how are we going to do this? How do we get to? And when are things going to open up again? And when? And I know that everyone who's watching this is in a very different place. But when you focus on the how and the when, you actually, I think, lose your way. Those things do matter, but the more important questions that we should be asking is the who and the what. The who and the what. The who and the what has never changed, cannot change, must not change. That's what we got to focus on. Those are the things that are in our hands. Those are the things that are set in stone, as it were, and the things we can do and must give our attention to. The how and the when are not always in our hands, and the changes, those things can be changed, and they're up to other people at times. But this thing of the who and the what, that's what we got to focus on. I think that gives us faith for what it is God's called us to. To state the obvious, one of the go-to texts for us is Matthew 16. And there, for the first time, Jesus outlays this incredible picture of the church that he's building. And we know it's based on the revelation of him. When he asked the question, who do people say I am? Then he asked his disciples, who do you say I am? And we know Peter stood up and said, you're the Christ, you're the Messiah, you're the Son of the living God. And Jesus endorsed that, told him how blessed he was to know that. And for the first time in history, he began to talk about this church based on that revelation. But note this, he said, I will build my church. I will build my church is what Jesus declared in that moment. And then, fortunately, Matthew doesn't end in chapter 16, but it goes on to Matthew 28. And the last text in Matthew 28, where Jesus says, all authority and power has been given to me. Now go and make disciples of all nations. So we know this. Jesus said, I will build my church. He doesn't do it apart from us. He does it with us. But he is the builder of his church, and he's given us this commission to go and make disciples of all nations. And if I can just challenge you and I again, let's stay focused on what he told us to do as he builds his church. Let's focus on the Great Commission and making disciples of all nations. Those were his last words to us. That's what we should give our attention to.